Good morning. My name is Michael Outlaw, Community Liaison, Office of the Mayor. I'm here to provide an overview of Unified Erie's three-pronged approach, which is a violence reduction initiative. But before I begin my speech, let's have a moment of silence for Antonio Espin Yager, Jr. Thank you. Mr. Yager, Jr., ESPN, was a 7-year-old baby whose life ended by a senseless and evil act of gun violence. Unified Erie formed in 2010 to reduce crime and violence in Erie County. It began with law enforcement, but soon branched out to encompass prevention and reentry. We believe a stronger community is a safer community. We also believe in collaboration, data-driven decisions, evidence-based solutions, working smarter and together, as well as unifying to address violence in Erie's community. Unified Erie's three-pronged approach model to reducing violence is prevention. The Community Action Plans identifies the current top 3 risk and protective factors for Erie County within the domains of family, community, and school. The Community Action Plan the Community Action Plan makes up the prevention prong of Unified Erie. The plan was developed by the Erie County Policy and Planning Council for Children and Families and was created using the community that care model for prevention. The next prong is enforcement. Enforcement identifies chronic violent offenders systematically, implements a chronic violent offender notification and intervention program. Target enforcement actions towards chronic violent offenders. It captures chronic violent offenders using a fugitive apprehension team before reoffending. And the final prong is reentry. Reentry is housed under the Erie County Reentry Services and Support Alliance, or ECRSSA. The program provides support and services to transitioning clients through an intentional network of community and faith-based organizations in partnership with the criminal justice system. All call-in participants are eligible for intensive case management services. We will help the eligibility participants with accessing job, trainings, employment, education, medical, mental health, and housing. In closing, we are all a part of the solution. Say that again. We are all a part of the solution. If you are a family member or someone engaging in violence or at risk for violence, seek help. It takes a village to raise kids. Erie has plenty of resources to build a positive village for our kids. If you are a neighbor, look out for one another. Be a positive influence on the kids in your community. If you provide service to kids or families, re-examine your outreach efforts. Go to where the kids and families are, rather than waiting for them to come to you. If you are a funder, support efforts that are proven to work and avoid feel-good strategies. We know that no one prong will be able to solve these problems alone. Together, as a community, we hold the key to transforming our beloved community. So today we're asking the community to partner with us and help us put an end to the senseless violence in our community. The next voice you hear is Inspector Mike Nolan. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mike Nolan. I'm the inspector of the Erie Police Department. A little more than 2 weeks ago, a 14-year-old brought a gun to school and shot another student multiple times. 11 days later, 7-year-old Antonio Espin Yager, Jr. was shot and killed while walking with some friends just a block from his home. The pain and grief of losing a child for any reason is unimaginable. But losing a child to an evil, senseless act of violence such as this, no doubt, makes their pain infinitely worse and affects us all. We are in the midst of a crisis. Alarm bells should be going off in every corner of our community. Violent crime involving young juveniles, both as victims and offenders, is increasing. It's not just a perception, that's a fact. Compared to last year, up to April 20th, the number of juvenile victims of violent crime in Erie has nearly doubled. The number of juvenile offenders, those who commit violent crimes, has more than tripled. Same time frame, 21 to 22. The social dysfunction that has led to the increase in this senseless violence is complex, has many parts to it. The reality is that police can only address some of these contributing factors. This is a community problem. We need all hands on deck working together to have a realistic chance of reversing this trend. We need partners, committed partners. We must all stand together and universally and unequivocally condemn this behavior. So partner with us. Cooperate with the police. Have the courage to tell others to cooperate with the police. This may sound harsh to some, but the time for tiptoeing around this issue is long gone. If your young child is posing with a gun on Snapchat or throwing up gang signs, they're on their way to being the next victim or offender, and lives will be ruined. If you see these warning signs, we implore you to reach out to us. You don't have to reach out to the police. Reach out to the school, your community center, your clergy, but reach out to somebody. If you don't, and if they end up hurting others, we have to take them off the street, and we have to lower the hammer, the enforcement end of this. Without accountability and order, our society falls apart and chaos runs rapid. But if we all partner with each other, we can prevent these kids from ruining their lives and the lives of others. This is the ultimate goal, and we can all agree on that. Don't let this violence become our new normal, because if we do, where does this go next? And I'm going to turn it over to District Attorney Beth Hers.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Elizabeth Hers. I'm the District Attorney. The youth violence in our community is at a level we have never seen before. Currently, there are approximately 15 pending criminal cases involving juveniles who have been charged as adults under the Fisher Bill in my office. 4 of those cases involve homicide charges, which, if convicted, and these defendants are between the ages of 15 and 17, if convicted, will result in sentences of no less than 35 years incarceration. And a record number of other juvenile cases in our office, which involve the possession and the use of firearms by juveniles. The consequences for these crimes are immediate, and they are also long-term. These juveniles charged under the Fisher Bill will be subject to the same penalties as the adults, which include exposure to lengthy incarceration, years away from their home and away from their families. Also, in addition to the immediate punishment, these individuals engaged in these crimes have to see the long-term consequences as well. Ability to obtain employment or acquire licenses for certain professions, that jeopardized. by these crimes. Access to public housing, benefits, impact on these juveniles' ability to enlist in the military, fines, costs, restitution, immigration status, all jeopardized. And a juvenile's record of delinquency for certain offenses can and will significantly affect their sentencing for any further criminal convictions as an adult. Additionally, there will be consequences for those individuals who provide these firearms to the juveniles. There will be investigations with every single firearm taken from a juvenile in an attempt to determine how they obtained these firearms, and these individuals will be prosecuted. The impact of these crimes will follow these individuals well beyond their 18th birthday, and they need to know that. And unfortunately, these crimes will haunt their victims and their families as well. They have to understand this reality. These consequences are real, they are far-reaching, and not only for the offenders and the victims and the families, but also for our entire community. That is why we as a community must stand up, show up, and never give up on ending this violence. Enough is enough. Thank you. Now Superintendent Polito will speak to you.
Thank you, Attorney Hers. 9 days, 2 tragedies. The first occurred in a hallway of Erie High School. A 14-year-old armed with a gun shot and wounded another student who thankfully survived. The second happened at the corner of Downing Avenue and Fairmount Parkway. A 7-year-old second grader shot in the head by an unknown assailant. He clung to life for 4 days before dying this Monday, April 18th. 9 days and 2 tragedies. Many lives irreparably changed and a community shaken and angry. What do we take from this? If there are any lessons to be found in these tragedies, it's this. Gun violence is not only an Erie's public schools problem, though we are certainly part of the solution. It's our collective problem, a problem that is quickly coming to define our community, and one that is going to take our will and purpose to conquer. We own our responsibility. You've heard about the metal detectors we're installing at all of our secondary schools, and additional security measures being put in place at Erie High. What we need is our community to unite behind one common cause, ensuring the safety of its most vulnerable citizens, our children. Our students cannot learn if they do not feel safe in a classroom. Our teachers and staff cannot educate if they are on a perpetual alert for a lockdown alarm. Our families cannot fully engage and support us if they're anxious and worried. We cannot function as a community under a blanket of fear. So what's the answer? Where do we go from here? What are we going to do collectively to keep our children safe? On behalf of the 1,300 employees of Erie's public schools, the people who show up every day to teach, feed, and support our kids, I'm imploring everyone who is listening to come together to help us answer the most consequential questions Erie's facing today. And now I'd like to turn it over to Brother Darrell Craig.
And so, our worst fears, as I said earlier, have come to pass. Young man shot in our school, highlighting the fact that our schools are not as safe as we would like them to be or as they once were. But then, to drive the point home, an even worser fear. a worse fear comes to pass. A baby. A baby. A baby is killed. I spent a part of this morning trying to fulfill a request or help fulfill a request of the family for funeral arrangements for this baby. And some of the things that they want to do to honor the life of this baby highlights just what's at stake for everybody under the sound of my voice. They want to have other children dressed up as superheroes along the way as the body, the hearse with the body, makes its way to the final resting place. But with every request is driving home the fact that this was a baby. And the saddest part about it, this is not the first baby shot in Erie. This is not the first baby shot in Erie. We had a 6-year-old shot in the Harbor Homes. How many years ago? A 16-month-old baby shot over on Chestnut, crawling on the floor of its home. And that was the time for this. But I'm not here to point fingers or blame. I'm here to say there's no more excuses. There's no more reason for no adult to not participate in this solution. If you don't think this is everybody's problem, keep riding up the street. Keep letting your children come out the house. This is all of our problems. Every one of us has a piece of the problem, and every one of us has a piece of the solution. There's only one guaranteed path to success, and that is unity. I'm talking a spiritual principle, I'm talking a biblical principle, and I'm talking real facts. Unity, we've seen it at work. And now is the time for us to recoup, to come back together. The COVID did what it did. All right, enough is enough. It's time for Erie to show the best side of Erie. We just witnessed the worst side of Erie. Each and every person under the sound of my voice has the ability to show the best side of Erie. Unity right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother D, and thanks to everyone for the presentations. I'm going to kind of wrap things up here. This is a very moving experience for me, and I'm sure we've got about 50 people here. Many of you are well known in the community. I really love the diverse group I'm seeing as I look from the stage here to everyone here. If we can all get together and address this, we're going to make a big difference. So let me get to my prepared remarks. Today, I'm encouraging all Erie residents to do their part, not just the people in the room, but everyone. Seek help if your family needs it. Keep an eye out for one another to protect. Cooperate with law enforcement so criminals are held accountable and families receive justice. Enough is enough. Our children need us to act now. Let's make life in Erie better by all of us acting together. Yesterday, I was at Strong Vincent High School. Our SPCP, and that's short for Strengthening Police Community Partnerships Council, the SPCP hosted a meeting with students from across the Erie School District. I think there was about 30 there. They shared concerns and ideas with many public officials. That meeting was led by Michael Outlaw, who really did a great job and got the children up and got them to open up. It was amazing. It was an amazing meeting. Besides about 30 students, participants in that conversation included City Council President Liz Allen, who's here with us today, District Attorney Beth Hertz, who presented today, U.S. Attorney Chris Trable is here, and officers from the Erie Police Department. We have many of them here with us as well. They're doing great work. Erie School District administrators played an important role. Teachers were there, and I was there as well. Many of the students felt safer now coming to school with the installment of the metal detectors, but they still worry about what might happen while they're there. One student shared with us her house had been shot up twice by drive-by shooters, while her family was all there in the home as well. Fortunately, no one was injured in that. A few students said they are now so used to shootings in the city, they don't even think about it. Now that is unacceptable. The COVID-19 pandemic has increased the underlying issues related to domestic gun violence here in Erie, including drug addiction, mental health, behavioral health, and youth violence. Erie is not unique in this now. It's happening really all over the country, but we have to deal with it here. Now more than ever, since gun violence affecting our youth has increased, we all must come together and approach this in a very unified manner. Really appreciate everyone being here. We already have a tried and true data-driven program called Unified Erie. This preventative call-in program has really been very successful over the years. We now should adapt that program to accomplish two things. First, serve our younger residents. And second, provide those younger residents with the support they need to make constructive choices and choose a path toward a productive future for themselves, their family, and the entire city of Erie. As an Erie resident, you can help accomplish this by keeping a watchful eye on your neighborhood and speaking up when there's a problem. If you see something, say something. The police non-emergency number is 814-870-1125. Call that with tips or requests or input of any kind. In the event of an emergency, though, call 911, for instance, if there's shots fired or someone is in peril. If you're a parent, make sure that you know where your children are and who they're hanging out with. If you run a community center, and the community centers do a lot of great work here in Erie, but expand your program to the youth especially. It is often said that it takes a village to raise a child. We are all in this together. I'm happy that last Thursday we announced $1.6 million of ARP funding for various youth initiatives and programs all throughout the city of Erie. We look forward to the impact these projects will have. Coming together to share our perspectives and resources will have a truly positive impact on the Erie community. You are all part of the solution. Please stand together, be unified in the mission to bring neighbors, families, and businesses together to create a stronger community. A stronger community is a safer community. Erie is not just a place where we happen to live. Erie is our home. Let's all unify and work together towards a stronger Erie. Let's get everyone together in this. Thank you very much. I believe that concludes the speakers, correct? So we're now open for interviews with the media or any questions or input anyone here may have. Thank you very much all for being here. We appreciate it.